Are you dreaming of the lifestyle that comes with successful trading? Well, it's time to make it a reality. Welcome to the Trading Ascension podcast, where you can discover methods to improve your trading results by focusing on your trading psychology. I'm Jason E., your guide on this path to trading improvement, self-discovery, and self-mastery. Together, we'll explore the personal and spiritual growth journey of profitable day trading. Prepare to unlock the secrets of the trader's mind and align your inner self with your personal success. Listen to this episode if you want to ascend to new levels of trading excellence and personal development. This is Trading Ascension, supporting your journey to mastering trading psychology and personal growth for consistent profits. Let's elevate your trading and your consciousness starting now. In today's episode, I want to start by saying Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Before I get to celebrating the day myself, I want to share a couple of tools that I think will help your trading in your life. And I had a different episode planned for today, but Father's Day kind of snuck up on me. It's not something like, you don't think about it, right? It just kind of appears. So it's here. I'm going to change up the message, speak a little shorter here so I can get to some activities that the family has planned for me, right? I'm thankful for that. But this week's show, just a little more personal, right? I'm just going to kind of talk here. But it's all about letting go and giving yourself permission to change. Something that's, it's important in trading and in life. Now, as a father, you learn about yourself and your own parents at the same time. If you have a father, shoot him a message today. And if your relationship is strained, hopefully today will help, because I want to talk about letting go and excuses for a moment today. Because I think this will really aid your journey, and not just your life journey, but your trading journey. When I think about Father's Day, I always think first about my father, then I think about myself as a father, right? I'm thankful for my dad, for all the love he gave me. He's no longer here. He passed away 11 years ago. And part of the grieving is learning to tell his story in my mind by focusing on the greatness and the good times instead of just the loss, right? It's about changing the story we tell ourselves to get the most out of life. We have to change our trading story to get the most out of our trading. On the other side, I think about being a father, right? Which is awesome. But I also lost my oldest son, right? He would have turned 17 this month. He passed away when he was 8. So I have to do the same thing. Face the feelings, deal with them, tell a new story. The emotions that block me from getting over these memories are the same battles that we face as a trader. Stories and emotional blocks. The market is designed to trigger emotion in us, right? When we experience setbacks or losses, the emotional protection mechanisms, they start to kick in from our subconscious brain, just like they do in personal loss. Those feelings, they can dominate the stories that we tell ourselves and the actions we take moving forward, right? That's why they call it baggage. And it's a huge reason that we repeat the same mistakes while we're day trading. Our minds act to protect our current narrative, right? And a lot of time those narratives aren't really narratives we set. We've talked about this before. Sometimes they're implemented before the age of 8. Even if it doesn't serve our trading goals, those narratives are going to play out. So when you think about that, positive thinking isn't just fluff. It's about hammering in new narratives so you can act differently based on a new sense of security. You have to let go, traders. That's going to be a big theme, in the upcoming weeks for all of us. You have to tell a new story. So through repetition, the mind has new directives. People and environments can try to hold us to an old story. But that's part of the fight, right? That's part of the fight to change reality. You need first clarity on your future self, and then you have to start telling that new story to yourself right now, today. Don't wait to tell the new story. Take bold action to be that version of yourself now. When I think about success, I have this understanding that it's not a destination, right? And I think anyone who's ever had success understands that success is not a destination. It's a path. And you're either on the success path or you're not. And when you're on the success path, you can feel successful. You can tell that story, and you can get on the success path by taking successful actions in integrity with the plan that you laid out, right? So if you have a plan to do XYZ on a trading session and you do XYZ, you're successful. And you can tell that success story. You don't have to wait on those results to have those feelings and those emotions, because you know the success actions lead to the success. The world wants you to show up the same way you always have, but you don't have to involve others in the process of your change. You just have to train yourself to block out these old narratives and change your habits. There's a tool I want to give you. If someone says something that reflects the old you can just subtly change it in your mind, right? Or you could say it to them, but you don't have to. For example, if a friend says, you've been trading so long and you're still struggling, and you can just respond, you know what? I remember when I was struggling. I'm on a new path. I'm on a new path, man. That's a powerful statement to make, especially when people who try to anchor you to your old reality step in. You don't have to explain. Just say, I'm on a new path. I'll tell you more soon. It's not the job of those around you to accept your new reality. That's between you and your God, and they'll see the fruit in time. I was just having a conversation this week about fruit, and for a long time, I had it wrong. So there's a verse in the Bible, Matthew 7:16-20, and it says, you'll recognize them by their fruits. And I used to think that meant material things, but that's not the fruit of a person. The real fruit is our thoughts and our habits, our direct descendants as a human, right? It would be like thinking that material wealth and things are the fruit of people would be like thinking an apple pie is the fruit of an apple tree. It's not. The direct descendant of a tree is the apple. The direct descendant of humans, things that come right out of the human, are our thoughts and our habits. So when you are aligned, when you're doing things correctly, the fruits, the thoughts and the habits are the things that change. Those are the fruits that you can see in a successful person. So by telling a new story, you change your fruit. Your new habits and perspectives change your results. And sometimes we need permission, right? This is huge. It's normal, but there are times where we just need external permission to change. The more fear we have around changing, and the more we need to filter a message before we accept its wisdom, play a huge part in our permission to change. But if you're focused on the direction, and I say this all the time, if you're focused on the direction of someone who's giving you information and not the finger that's pointing, you'll start to have an understanding of the wisdom apart from the person. And I say that about myself. If you can hear what I'm trying to convey to you, if you can receive the energetic message that I'm trying to give to you every week, and look at the direction I'm pointing in and not at the finger, I'll change your life. And that's not a brag, because I can't take a lot of credit for the information that I receive, how I receive it, my ability to receive it, and my hunger to convey it to others. In our minds, there's excuses, though. There's reasons to judge people. There's reasons to judge where information comes from, right? There are people that are like, oh, I can't take wisdom from that book because I don't believe in that religion, or things like that. And they're just excuses. The things that block us from change. And so these things that block us from change, they have meaning. there's symbolism in our personal excuses. So I want you to think about the main excuse. What comes to your mind if someone asked you, why aren't you a successful trader yet? Be honest, right? Even if it stings, right? I know a lot of times when I say, oh, I have no excuses, I'm just, whatever. There's something in your mind that's answering the question, why aren't you a successful trader yet? Be honest, even if it stings. And those excuses often carry deep symbolic meaning. And I'll give you a moment just to think about that. Let me have a sip of water here. Why aren't you a successful trader yet? That excuse that you just thought of, even if you don't want to accept it, it carries deep symbolic meaning. It reflects and our excuses reflect our internal beliefs, fears, and what we value most. So the specific excuse that you chose isn't random. It's going to represent a core narrative about your perceived limitations. For example, let's say you're blaming a toxic home environment, right, that you grew up in or in currently. It might symbolize a sense of powerlessness or longing for acceptance. Now, that's not something I made up, learned that in coaching. But let me just be your coach. And I'm going to walk you through 6 steps of letting go excuses to give yourself permission to overcome your limitations. Because again, those permissions are going to be, it's going to be just the release. A lot of times we have to get this external thing before we can change internally. Not always, right? There are some times where we're just like, oh, I can change. I can make that adjustment. Then there's other times where we're like, oh, I can't manage my risk until $1 million trader says it, right? I can't go on this diet until this fitness guru says it, even though my spouse has been saying it all the time, right? So we just have to get that permission. So I want you to let go of your excuses. I'm going to give you permission to do that today with this process that you can go through yourself. 6 steps. Number 1 is you want to acknowledge and explore the excuse. Validate your feelings, right? Don't negate them, but you're going to ask yourself, what does this excuse mean to me? And when did I first start feeling this way, right? And this is just a mental exercise. It's light. It's not therapy. It's not heavy. It's just a light mental exercise, right? Don't overthink this. So as you're thinking and you're just exploring in this mind contemplative state, look for the underlying symbolism, right? Does it represent some kind of fear, a lack of control, a need for safety via control? That's acknowledge and exploring the excuse. Number 2, you want to reframe the narrative. So you want to see the excuse as a story, not a fact. Now, understand that I didn't use the word true because a lot of times change and permission are blocked by the need for truth. I can't change this story because it's true, right? So see the excuse as a story, not a fact, even if you think it's true. It's just a story you're telling yourself. Identify the strengths and the resources you developed from that story and let the story go, right? So, before I get to the sadness of missing my father, missing my son, I can talk about the positive things, the things I gained, the lessons I learned, the strengths I developed. Number 3, set small, achievable goals, right? So you want to break down these new aspirations that you are seeking to replace these old stories. You want to do that in manageable steps. And you have to do that by celebrating wins along the path, because these wins build confidence and they shift your focus from limitation to possibility. When I started journaling the non-action wins, I started to see improvement, right? When I started to say, oh, great job on not taking that trade at 9:39. A few weeks ago, you might have got caught in that trap, right? So I started giving attention to the non-action things because the non-action things are very, very important as we're trading. So set small, achievable goals to reach the new level as you let go of that old story. And then number 4 is introduce the affirmations and mindsets of the new story, right? So I guess maybe I transposed these. This could have been 3 or 4. They kind of work the same together, but 4 is introduce these new affirmations. So you're going to use affirmations and spiritual principles, if you're that type of person, to reinforce these new beliefs. For example, right? Going back to when I said the challenge might be a toxic environment. Even in a challenging environment, I can create moments of peace and progress, right? So that would be that new replaced affirmation to start creating a new story. Let go of that limitation of why can't be a successful trader. And then 5 is you want to foster accountability and reflection. So you want to reflect regularly. Ask yourself weekly questions that empower you. Said this before, but Tony Robbins says the quality of our life is determined by the quality of questions we ask ourselves. So ask yourself something like, what did I learn this week? And then as you're going through the process, you have to be accountable to your action steps. At the same time, you have to be compassionate about the setbacks, right? And it's easier to do when you're more about the action than the result. So last thing you want to do is connect the progress to the original symbolism, right? So you want to revisit those old original excuses and then notice how your relationship to them has changed. And that's when you want to start highlighting the growth. Like, yeah, I am a new person. Yeah, this is a new story. I am on a new path. And this is the thing, I learned about just talking to yourself is a lot of times we hold other people accountable for the things that we want them to say to us that only we know. And there's nothing wrong with saying to yourself what you want to hear because you're the only one who knows it. Success in trading takes effort. And you can do things like these 6 steps. But when you see videos, I want you to know this. When you see videos of people making, money or, when I interview these people and you hear them on the show, know that there's always more going on the scenes, right? When I have a weekly topic, don't get lulled to sleep in your own life by thinking, oh, you know what? This is the one thing that Jason E's focused on. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes. And I learned this by interviewing these traders. And for me, even I get prompts from my mentor to ask these questions weekly. I get coaching. I meet with multiple traders every week. Right. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Right. So I want you to understand that you can do more. You can go harder. And the truth is you can have your excuses or your results, but you can't have both. So use these 6 steps to give yourself permission to drop the excuses, drop the baggage, and get your results. Results. They're your results, right? You don't have to take them from anyone. You don't have to go find them. You just need to be them. So here's to being the hero of your story. Have a great week, my trading friends. We'll get back to longer shows with, some hard-hitting points next week. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Talk to you soon. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Trading Ascension Podcast. I hope you're gaining valuable insights to support your day trading journey. If you found value today, I'd appreciate it if you could follow me on Instagram, Real Trading Ascension, subscribe on YouTube, and give this episode a like. Your support helps me grow and bring you even better content. Be sure to visit tradingascension.com for free resources, exclusive tips, and tools designed to elevate your trading. I'm inviting you back. Join me in the next episode as we continue to ascend together. Until then, keep ascending, stay mindful, and remember, your journey to mastering trading psychology and consistent profits starts with your commitment to personal growth. Yeah.